What's up, everybody? This is Colin from Holistic Heritage Homestead. I hope you're all well. I'm going to teach you folks the best way to start a compost pile, specifically a hot compost pile, also known as a thermophilic compost pile, because of all the thermophilic microbiology that you should have in a great hot compost pile. So what you want to do, folks, is you want to start off with what I call a carbon diaper. Great options for carbon sources are wood chips, if you can get them, okay? Clean, okay? No toxic garbage, all right? Stay away from that. And dried leaves, also different types of dried vegetation, whatever is gonna be brown colored or tan in color. That's gonna be great carbon source for you. So before this video started, I took the liberty to get started. And I am right next to our almost finished compost pile. Hopefully you folks can see that in the video. This stuff will be ready to go, ready for growing in probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks maximum. So you start off with your carbon diaper. This carbon diaper has some pieces of bark, okay? That's another form of carbon that's really great if you get your hands on some clean bark. No toxic garbage here, folks. Clean bark, excellent. Wood chips. This is predominantly pine shavings and a whole bunch of chicken manure. Now I know that's nitrogen, but this is already ready to go as far as having both carbon and nitrogen ready. This was clean out from one of our chicken brooders. So you start off with your carbon diaper. And an important detail that I recommend is you want this directly on the ground. Why, Colin? I'm happy you asked. I'll tell you why. Because the ground offers you different things. One, the ground will inoculate your pile with beneficial soil microbiology, such as mycorrhizae, different amoebas, bacteria, protozoa, nematodes, all of the wonderful things that make up the soil food web, okay? So on the ground, your carbon diaper, if you have some nitrogen mixed in, that's okay, as long as you definitely have lots of carbon down as well. And then what I recommend doing is, if you can get your hands on some partially broken down at the least, preferably finished compost, that's amazing. For the same reason that you want to go on top of the ground directly. You're going to inoculate your pile. So this is some of that partially broken down compost. There's an insect there, it's all good. This is reality, folks. Partially broke, I see some pill bugs. They're great at shredding. They're shredders of nature, increasing the surface area of your organic matter, okay? And you want to inoculate your pile. Leaves are a phenomenal, dried leaves specifically, are a phenomenal source of carbon. Leaves, many leaves, have something called lignins in them. And lignins are persistent. They take sometimes years to break down. Some of you might be thinking, well, why would I want that in my pile? Think of leaves that contain lignins as slow release fertilizer, okay? The lignins take a long time to break down, and that's going to provide food for your microbiology for years to come, as long as you're keeping it relatively wet. Now, as mentioned in a previous video or videos, much of the microbiology in a compost pile, specifically a hot compost pile, are water-loving microbiology. They're like aquatic, okay? So you definitely want to make sure your moisture level is hovering around moist, okay? Not completely soaked, but moist, okay? You don't want to take it, squeeze it, and have it just water pour out. You want to squeeze it and have just drops of water coming out. That's a really nice level of moisture that you should aim for. So we've got our carbon diaper on the ground, directly on the ground, and if there's vegetation there, that's not only okay, I think that's great, because that vegetation is just more organic matter going directly on your soil surface, and specifically directly on top of vegetation. Don't mind the rooster or roosters, folks. This is real homesteading. Going directly on top of that vegetation is going to give you organic matter. And when you have living roots in the ground, that's where a lot of the soil, good stuff, great stuff rather, happens. So having living plants under your compost pile means you have life. You have microbial activity instead of dead ground, dead soil, or relatively dead soil. Living vegetation means living roots, means root exudates, okay, like sugars, okay, are being released into the ground. So your living plants under, at least initially under the pile, are going to release sugars to feed bacteria, for example, okay? Feed your fungal components, for example. And also, if you have vegetation around your pile, that is great because of the same reason. Photosynthesis happens, boom, these awesome plants turn that into root exudates, feed the soil microbiology. The soil microbiology works upward into your pile, both by natural migration and your shredders, like your pill bugs, your earthworms, okay? So when you go directly on the ground, another benefit is exactly what I said about the earthworms. Earthworms will migrate upwards into the pile. When you have a hot pile, there gets a point where it's too hot for the earthworms. Now, you might want your pile to reach that temperature, 120 degrees Fahrenheit and higher. But what happens is your earthworms will not like that. They could die if it's too hot. So what your earthworms will do is they will avoid that hot area, which is typically towards the center of your biomass, and they will stay towards the bottom and your peripheral, the sides of the pile. The earthworms are constantly shredding and leaving their amazing castings in your pile. Earthworm castings are one of the arguably best natural fertilizers that anybody could use, okay? You want earthworms, and in a great pile, you might not find them towards the center. Remember, it might be too hot. But in a great pile, the bottom and the sides, you might find lots of earthworm activity, and that's great. So, carbon diaper directly on top of the soil. So the soil inoculates it, okay? Directly on top of vegetation, that's a plus, that's a bonus, okay? Organic matter and the root exudates, okay? Helping the microbiology thrive, all right? Directly on the ground, carbon diaper and inoculate with almost finished, at least partially finished, preferably finished compost. Now this is not completely finished, but that's okay because this is going to still be full of lots of microbiology, okay? And you want to protect your pile from piece of garbage. We never want garbage on our property, especially toxic garbage. That goes in the pocket, that will get taken care of. So you don't want to leave your pile uncovered. When I say uncovered, I mean, yes, it could be exposed to the sun. It could be exposed to the elements in the rain. That's fine. But what you want to do is you want to finish your pile with some nice browns. Like if I have some, I don't feel like going off camera, but I'll take some browns, some dried vegetation, and I'll just kind of make a little blanket. I'll make a little blanket when I finish this pile. This, once you water it and turn it, it has been shown that within 18 days, there is certain composting methodology that can give you almost finished or finished compost in 18 days. Realistically, we're not that hands-on. We're not out here turning this every day or two, or every 2 day or 2 days or 3 days. Most likely we'll turn this every 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. Turning it, introducing oxygen to the aerobic activities, or the aerobic, okay, microbiology is going to simply speed up the process. But we don't have time like that, folks. We're hardworking people, all right? Do what you can do when you want to do it. And sometimes, even if you don't want to, do it anyways, okay? Because growing food for your family is one of the most important things every responsible adult can do. And not just adults, children as well. I'm looking at mine and my wife's two beautiful, amazing sons. They know how to garden. They're both learning. One of the best things my wife and I could teach them is how to produce their own food, how to be more self-sufficient. And one of the things when it comes to self-sufficiency that everybody should do, no matter where you are on your self-sufficiency journey, is start a compost pile. Best time to start a compost pile was probably a year ago. All right. Second best time, right now. All right. Carbon diaper directly on the ground, preferably on top of vegetation. Inoculate with preferably finished compost, if not, at least partially broken down compost. And then another pro tip, go to, okay, make sure you follow your laws, go to an area like an old growth forest. Find an old tree, the oldest tree, nice large old tree. Go to the base of said tree and respectfully harvest from nature if you can legally. Don't take too much, at least a few handfuls, preferably about half of a bucket this side. Get like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gallons of that topsoil. That is going to be packed with soil microbiology, specifically a variety of native soil microbiology, which is exactly what you want. You want stuff native to your area, okay? Now, I am going to try to harvest some topsoil myself and add that to this pile as well as that almost finished compost. If you learned something, subscribe. If you really like this video, please share it with your friends. You have friends, family that are gardeners or want to get into gardening. Send this video to them. I hope that this makes composting approachable. I hope it excites you, and I hope you're motivated to get up and grow. Take care, everybody.